What's going on, college football fans? Coming at you with another breakdown. It's your resident Michigan fan here at a House Divided podcast. It's your man's Marcus here to break down this weekend's thriller versus the Wildcats of Northwestern at Wrigley Field. We'll get into it here in a second. We'll also break down this weekend's game versus Maryland. So we'll get into all of that. Before we start, as you always, like, share, and subscribe. Help us grow this thing as big as we can. Always appreciate your membership. It's as much as your channel as it is ours. So we definitely appreciate all the engagement and all the growth that we've been able to receive so far. Make sure you watch us at the big college football show at 11 on Saturdays. Myself, Maze Maniac, Maze Maniac. That's they're a tandem. We're just gonna announce them together from now on and keep doing that. Yeah, Maze, Madman, Boxing Maniac, Johnny Oat, and Josh. We all get together every Saturday, so you make sure you tune in right here for that. Best kickoff show in America. Let's talk about some stuff. So Michigan won a nail biter against Northwestern there, 24-22. I don't think many people were expecting that close of a fight there for the Wolverines, but at the same time, Northwestern is a team that usually plays Michigan pretty well. Usually plays them down to the wire, and in general, this year they're a tough team. They're a good team. They're able to run the football. They play the run. Usually, this year they played the run pretty well. I think their quarterback took a lot of opportunities deep that Michigan hadn't previously found themselves in. This year in terms of, getting caught in zero a lot. I think they brought a lot of pressure this game to try to stifle Northwestern's running attack and to make them one-dimensional, and they succeeded at that. They held them down most of the game, or at least kept them from being able to score touchdowns. There's a lot of field goal work, a lot of work in between the red zones, and then clamping down once they got there. So that felt, for at least for 3/4 of the game. But there were times where, cornerbacks on the island. Zeke Berry's been playing really good this year. Didn't have his best game in those scenarios this go around. I don't necessarily expect that to persist, but it was something to pay attention to because they did take, shots with those one-on-one opportunities, especially, with tight ends over the middle. I think Jayden Mangum and Mason Curtis both got beat on deep passes to the tight end over the middle. So definitely things in there that you want to go back and rehash and check fundamentals on so that they're not busts that continue, late here in the season. But all in all, I do think that the defense got enough pressure to keep the ball coming out quick on most of those opportunities so they couldn't, exploit that to its fullest attempt. It's one thing to have 4 or 5 big play shots and result in 20 points. It's another thing if you're consistently giving up those plays down in, down out, that could turn into a 40 point game very easily. So I do commend the defense for fighting back and, really stifling them until the fourth quarter where they gave up, some short fields and some momentum plays and things of that nature. So we'll hit the tape on defense and go back and see what can be fixed. I think there's still improvements to be made along the defensive line in terms of fitting gaps, especially when they're not in like a base personnel, when they're not playing their natural gap fits. When you have to slide your nose to 3 technique, or you got to kick your 3 out to 5 technique and have them play defensive end, they're not fitting the responsibilities seamlessly. There seems to be an opening in some of those, or guys are overrunning plays. I know TJ Metcalf kind of ran into Jayshon Burns back on one of them plays where they got a long run in the second half. Now they ended up getting called back because of a holding penalty. But even still, if the holding never happens on Jayshon Burns, we're still out of position to make that play. Metcalf's got to leverage outside. It seemed like, Barham was going on the blitz. Maybe then that kicks the contain responsibility to Metcalf. I'm not positive, but one thing I do know is you don't run up your guys back and fill the same gap, right? And so gap responsibility will be a big thing for us for the remainder of the year. It's either going to kill us or they'll show a market improvement, and then we'll have some success. So yeah, man, I don't have too much bad to say about the defense other than the little bit of motion they got in between the red zones and the big plays, the jump balls. That's definitely something to keep your eye on. But I do think that they beat up Northwestern's offensive line pretty sufficiently. Um, it's just that when you get that many opportunities on offense, something's going to give. It always does. You can't expect to not be in a fight and turn the ball over 5 times. That's you're lucky to have won it all, to be honest. Offensively, I guess it was the tale of two halves, to be honest. First half, Bryce looked like an absolute superstar. I mean, the RPO game is running. They dropped back, I think, 13 times in the first half. The very first scoring drive that Michigan had was mostly dropbacks. They didn't even utilize the RPO all like that. So he is maturing in front of our eyes, right? But he's still a freshman, and so second half things aren't necessarily tight. They were up 20-9 at some point. He's playing pretty well, but you get that first bit of adversity. We throw that first pick, and then we throw the second pick, and then we flub the handoff. At a certain point, it feels like quicksand, right? And we all know the old adage about quicksand: the more you struggle, the more you sink. Well, that's kind of the same kind of idea when you think about playing quarterback at this level. When you get into trouble like that, the more you try to big play your way out of it is probably more than likely going to end you up to sinking even further. And I think that's what ended up happening, right? He throws the first pick on the RPO, which, I mean, you're up 20-9. Do you think that you need to keep throwing the ball at that point? I mean, you're putting it in the guy's hands to make the decision. So I won't question it, other than the fact that we've seen it in hindsight how it played out. But you throw the first pick. Now, to me, yeah, it is time to get off of RPOs as a play caller. We should probably let that go. We got a young guy in there. A second pick could kill us, not just in terms of timing, but in terms of the competence of our guy. So I would have thought that second go around we wouldn't even have had that as an option. Then it isn't an option anymore. We're knocking them off the ball all the way down the field. Get a very auspicious spot on a fourth and 1, which I feel like we should have picked up on 3rd and 2, but here nor there. 4th and 1, we have a flubbed handoff on a wedge play, and it just kind of seems like this is our day to lose. Like, I honestly, at some point, it just felt like we was just naturally going to lose to Northwestern. So obvious negatives to take, right? Turnovers, not securing the football, and had another turnover on a punt return. But I guess the positives, if there is a silver lining to all of this, is that you turned the ball over 5 times. They didn't turn it over once, and you still beat them. You still found a way to win that game. That's tremendous kudos to the defense for being able to step up after all those turnovers and stifle Northwestern. That is supreme confidence in the coaching staff that they had in Bryce to still make a big time throw down to the opposite side of the field on 3rd and long to Andrew Marsh, who made an amazing catch. He had an amazing day. Only had 189 yards. I think it was 12 catches. Absolute monster day. Jordan Marshall, 140 some odd yards. Absolute monster day. Bryson Cusdo coming in to spell Jordan Marshall after he goes out with the shoulder. It took a committee this game, and they got it done. That's kind of the only thing you can ask from them. As long as each game we're continuing to pull something to get better. I did see Bryce getting better. It looked like he did some work in the bye week, so that was encouraging. What's not as encouraging is the 3 turnovers in the second half, but at the same time, man, it's just once you kind of get going like that with the younger guy, it can spiral out of control. And so the fact that they had that, they were able to come back and rely on him to make a big play, and you won the game. Those are the type of lessons you want to learn. Like, to be honest with you, you don't usually learn those lessons during wins. And so that's fortunate. Michigan's season in general, let's talk about that for a second before we get to Maryland. Michigan's season in general is fortunate. Like for all the belly achers, for all of the we look so unprepared. Why can't we be Bama, who has the same record as us, by the way? Why can't we be Ohio State, who we've beaten the last 4 years? Well, why can't we just look better, which is really what you're saying? Why can't we score style points? You have an offense that's starting 6 freshmen, be it true freshmen or redshirt. You have a defense that is regularly playing at least 3 freshmen at any given time, right? If we count Cole Sullivan, Jaden Sanders, or even now with Nathaniel Wusu-Boateng, right? You've got a lot of young guys playing on the team. You got a lot of young guys playing on this team. Chase Taylor has gotten time. Jordan Young is who I was mistaken on. He's played a lot. Right? You have so many young players playing meaningful minutes, and you're 8-2. With 2 losses being towards another Big Ten team who's around the same spot you are, trying to sneak into the Big Ten championship in the playoff, and an SEC team who's of the same fashion with the same record. Only 2 losses. You haven't lost one that you weren't supposed to a lesser team, to a lesser talented team. You even beat some teams that are of like competition, such as Washington, such as Nebraska. And Nebraska's got the veteran quarterback and a veteran offensive line. So the fact that you're sitting here at the end of the season with a chance to roll in to Ohio State, with a chance to beat them and go to the Big Ten championship game, and we're belly aching with 2 losses after last year, mind you. Look, man, I'm not going to tell you that things have looked perfect or that I wouldn't have changed certain things in our favor to the betterment. But to have this level of success with a true freshman quarterback, with a redshirt freshman running back leading the way, with a redshirt freshman starting at right tackle, redshirt freshman starting at right guard, redshirt freshman starting at left tackle. True freshman at quarterback. Like 8-2 with a chance to be 9-2 and go to the championship game. We're not supposed to be here, y'all. We're not supposed to be here. This is supposed to be an 8-4, 7-5 football team this year, which would still have been an improvement over last year, even though we finished the season 8-5. Still be an improvement. I think that coming up here against Maryland, it's not, they don't have to be perfect, but boy, does it help. Like, they don't have to come out here and have like the Maryland game of 2021 where Donovan Edwards goes off, they throwing the passes all over the field, and they just absolutely stomp a mud hole in Maryland. But like, if that happened, I wouldn't be mad. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of where I'm at with it. Loxley is in a teetering position over there at Maryland, so you know the guys are going to be rallying around him to try to save his job. Still think he should have made a phone call, man. Maybe he did. Maybe Loxley was like, I'm gonna see this out. Still think he should have made a phone call last offseason. Anyways, a lot of motivation for Maryland to try to play above their level in this game, right? Michigan has motivations. Maryland doesn't have that many, right? Other than trying to, get to bowl eligibility. So, that's a recipe for an upset usually. When we have a game to look forward to the week after and they're just fighting to play spoiler, that usually is a recipe for disaster. So definitely got to be cognizant of that. They have a quarterback who's dangerous, a young guy just like us, right? They're playing a freshman as well. So a lot of the things that we were worried about with Northwestern last week are struggling with in terms of deep balls and things like that, Maryland's going to get the ball out quick. They're going to get the ball out very fast. They're not going to sit back there and let that young QB just get demolished. So I would, for Wink, I think this is going to be a week where he shines because he's going to be able to confuse a lot to Maryland's quarterback. He hasn't seen a lot of the coverages that he'll probably see from Wink Martindale, a lot of the blitzing combinations that he'll throw at him, and kind of like what they did, Saturday against Northwestern. They did play a lot of man, but they disguised it a lot. And so there was only a handful of times where they were actually able to expose it. Now, a few of those jump balls ended up being zone coverage, and they just ended up turning into a one-on-one situation. But the reason why they weren't, continuously getting deep downfield, if you're Northwestern, but combined with the amount of pressure that we're applying, was the fact that they were disguising coverages so well. That's going to be very important for this game. I think giving him a lot of different sets. Also, this is a game for you, TJ Guy, Derek Moore. I anticipate them trying to get the ball off quick, but I don't think they're strong enough in their run game that they're going to be able to stay balanced against Michigan. So this is going to be an opportunity. Granted that the offense does what they have to score points to put Maryland in that position. That happens. This is an opportunity where our pass rush should be able to have a field day. They should be able to get after this quarterback pretty well. Defensively, I'm looking for a stronger performance from our secondary than we had against Northwestern. Let's get in the gear. Let's also look for the health of everybody, man. I'm hoping everybody's healthy going into as healthy as can be, right? Obviously, we know Justice is going to be gone for the year, and most of the guys that have been missed majority of the year probably going to be out. But we shall see in this game. I think anybody that we don't see this week is probably done for the year. So that'd be something to pay attention to. Offensively, I want Bryce to start the game exactly how he started the Northwestern game. Start it hot. Start throwing the ball. Dropbacks. Just like you did against Northwestern. I want them to start the game the exact same way. If he doesn't get derailed, he could throw for 400 yards against Northwestern. If he doesn't get derailed the way he did, and they're trying to go get it, he could have thrown for 400 yards against Northwestern. I want to see that replicated over and over and over again until we build a super player, a player who is capable of not just managing a game, but carrying a game with his arm and his legs. Like video game type player is what the potential is for Bryce Underwood. So I want to see them come out that exact same way and attack Maryland and force them to adjust early. I do think we'll be able to run the ball against them. Sounds like Jordan Marshall's going to play, so we should be good in that regard. Not trust Bryson Cuz though. Again, I don't think the fumble was on him on Saturday. He runs hard, not as big as the first two backs, but does get through the hole very quickly. He gets vertical now. That's something that I love in running backs. Yeah, I'm confident in what we have in the backfield. I want to see the receivers continue to ascend. McCulley and Marshall look legit, at least legit enough to compete. I would like to see a third option appear. The ghost of Captain Zero maybe will have an appearance at some point this season, man. I think he's in for a long off season. He's in for a long off season and some self-reflection for sure. But Marlon Klein, same way. Same exact way. I know his has been a little bit more injury latent, but had to have been expecting a bigger year than what he's gotten so far. So, just looking for an opportunity. And again, I still say play Tony Ellie and play Marshall right now. They're your two best pass catching options from that position. I would continue to get those guys opportunities, and I think they both caught passes in this last game. So let's continue to expand their role and let's see where the chips may. I think we play a clean game and we don't turn it over. There's no reason why it shouldn't be a 35, 40-point game for Michigan against Maryland. It's just how consistently do we get in the end zone? How many times do we turn it over? And whether or not the opportunities that may arise on defense in terms of single coverage, zero coverage, whether those end up being bust or if they go in Michigan's favor. So I think that's gonna be it for now. We'll cut it there. Again, catch us on Saturday, college football show live at 11. Best kickoff show in America. Don't miss out. We'll see you there, and we'll also have a breakdown for the rivalry game next week. All right, folks. Peace.